Hello and welcome back to the Top Corner European Roundup Show, your daily source of European news that is released every day onto YouTube at 9 a.m. It is the 27th of December. I hope you had a fantastic Christmas, and there's a lot of interesting news to get through as we get closer to the January transfer window. So if you are new to the channel, please do leave a like and a subscription. And I will have a question to ask you at the end of the video. So let's go into the first piece of news today, and it is a transfer, and it's to do with this man, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Now, reports came out yesterday morning that Ibrahimovic is expected to rejoin his former side, AC Milan, in the next coming days on an initial 6-month contract. The Swedish striker has had a large amount of interest, including the likes of Ancelotti at Everton and Mourinho at Spurs, and a lot of other clubs around the world, but the player has decided he wants to return to Italy, and specifically back to AC Milan. Of course, he played there before. He spent 2 seasons at the club between 2010 and 2012, where he won the Serie A title before that mega money move to Paris Saint-Germain. There will be an option on the table if this signing goes well of a further year on his contract. It's a massive, massive piece of news, and there are a lot of people excited in the football community about Zlatan going back to the club. Of course, they've been having their serious woes in Serie A Milan. They're 11th in the Serie A right now on 21 points, and they've not been doing good at all up front, only scoring 16 goals this season, which is quite worrying for a club of Milan's size. So they're hoping that Ibrahimovic will be there to help Christoph Piatek, who's been in a pretty worrying sense of form. Well, it's a stellar signing either way. Ibrahimovic, of course, he's 38 now. He's getting on, but he's still got it. And of course, he's a massive, massive name for Serie A once again. So expect that to be announced in the next coming days. But something that I think will be going on for a couple of weeks. We go on to Xhaka of Arsenal. Of course, he's been an infamous character, it's safe to say, over the last couple of months. But apparently, the Arsenal midfielder could be on the move after it was revealed that he has reportedly agreed a deal to join German side Hertha Berlin. Now, according to the German media outlet Blick, apparently Xhaka's agent talked to them and told them, look, I will say frankly and honestly, we are in agreement with Hertha Berlin and would like to go to Berlin. We've told Arsenal's club boss Raul and sporting director Edu, as well as the new head coach Mikel Arteta. Interesting piece of news, he has been linked with Hertha Berlin for the last couple of weeks. This is the biggest report in terms of the signing of Xhaka to another club being close. But not long after that news came out, France Football then came out and said he's not the only player that Hertha Berlin have made contact with. Apparently, they've had contact with Julian Draxler of Paris Saint-Germain, Julian Weigl of Borussia Dortmund, Toussaint of Lyon, and Kevin Strootman of Marseille. So they're keeping their options open, but it's safe to say Xhaka's probably the most likeliest of the 5 players that I've said there to join the club. So whether Xhaka is still an Arsenal player by the end of January, we don't know. Of course, he's been a little bit of a character in recent weeks and months after the massive outburst when Unai Emery was still manager. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I think Xhaka will go, and I do think it will be to Hertha Berlin. They're a side that are looking to go back into Champions League football under Jurgen Klinsmann. As of current, Hertha Berlin are sat 12th in the Bundesliga, and they're a fair way away from the Champions League spots. In fact, they are 11 points off, so there's a long way to go for them, but they're looking to progress as a club. We go on to the third piece of news. This comes from Spain earlier yesterday. One of La Liga's current oldest players signed a new contract, which will see the player play into his 40s. Of course, this is Joaquin of Real Betis. He signed a new contract that will run until 2021. The 30-year-old made headlines a couple of weeks ago after scoring his first career hat-trick in 20 years, and he also became the oldest player in La Liga history to score 3 goals. Joaquin did tell the club in a video that was released yesterday, "I think I'm in my prime. I should keep enjoying and making the Beticos happy. I landed here 23 years ago, and I will be here for another year." Very exciting. I would definitely say he's in the form of his life. Of course, as we know, there's certain players out there that as the older they get, the better they got. For example, Antonio Di Natale, when he was at Udinese, he got better with age as he got on. Fabio Quagliarella, he's another player, and Joaquin is one of the many players that certainly has got better with age. He might have lost the pace that he once had, but he's still a bloody good player on his day. And finally, this piece of news isn't to do with European football, but it has a major impact in Europe. And it's a piece of news that was officially announced yesterday, but has been widely talked about over the last couple of months. The Chinese Super League has introduced a new £49,000 a week wage cap for foreign players. Now, in the context of things, this is massive. Of course, over the last couple of years, there's been excessive spending in the league. The likes of Oscar when he came in from Chelsea and Carlos Tevez, of course, joining in recent years, has basically pulled the Chinese Football Federation into a predicament where they've announced this new salary cap to basically stop Chinese league clubs going into financial ruin. Now, the issue with this is that there's quite a lot of players who are there already that are on quite extensive ranges. So for wages, not ranges. So for example, Oscar is on a £400,000 a week wage. Hulk is on £320,000 a week. Graziano Pella, formerly the Southampton striker, he's on £290,000 a week. Marouane Fellaini, who only moved quite recently, he's on £235,000 a week. And there's many more players in the Chinese league that are on extensive wages that are going to have a real problem here. Now, previous to the salary cap, there was a 100% levy that was brought into place for transfers over £5 million, including foreign players, but it didn't stop the Chinese league clubs signing big stars. For example, Marko Arnautovic was on one of the recent major signings of the Chinese Super League that still went for quite an extensive amount of money. But with this new salary cap, it holds a major issue. These big players like Oscar and Hulk and Graziano Pella, in terms of the league's status, might have to find themselves moving clubs and even moving back to the European sides, because these clubs will not be able to afford their wages. Now, I don't know whether this means it has an effect on the players that are there, or whether this takes place for any signings that would be made now. It would be interesting to find out some confirmation from a Chinese source, which I will try and have a look. I have got a Chinese source that I do have on Twitter that I will contact, and I'll find out the details of this news. But as I said before, it'd be interesting to know whether this is in effect for any signings that happen now, or whether this affects the entire league for any player. Because if it does, there are a lot of players that may have to leave in the next coming months. So my question to you to end the European Roundup show, with some potential major stars like Oscar, Carrasco, Cedric Bakambu, to name a couple of the players that are there, where could they go if they leave the Chinese Super League? So thank you very much for joining me on the European Roundup show for the 27th of December. Of course, as I said before, if you are new to the channel, please do leave a like and a subscription, and leave a comment with your answer to the Chinese Super League. Of course, if you want to follow us on Twitter, it is at @_top corner. If you want to follow us on Facebook, just simply search the Top Corner. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, it's the _top Corner blog. And as always, the European Roundup Show is available at 9 a.m. every single day on the YouTube channel. So once again, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.